have the Pandora PB-3, or the Pandora's box in 3 MOA. This is our take on a ground-up design made to compete with optics like the Aimpoint Acro and Swamp Fox Kraken, etc. Right. The primary difference between the Pandora and something like those traditional optics is that we went away from the Erector 2 design and we borrowed much of the tech from the Steiner MPS.
Okay.
Right. So we placed the emitter at the top of the housing. Right. And so what that did is it opened up the interior of the housing and away from the Erector 2, which obviously adjust to 0. A couple of things that we did include raising the midpoints of the optic housing so that there's an impact point that's away from the ocular and the objective lens to kind of distribute the force down to the sides of the housing a little bit. We also recessed our PCB for our brightness control. We made the buttons large and easy enough to manipulate with gloves. I know some of our competition, those buttons are kind of small and weird to click. Right. So our custom PCB, we did that there. We have a full-time PCB engineer that just does like our LEDs, our power, our cell, etc. And so, from that perspective, it's where we want it to be. Brightness settings, a couple of night vision settings on the low end, a couple of nuclear bright settings on the top end. But we're running the CR 2032 so we can maximize that runtime.
Perfect.
On that optic housing.
Now, auto on, auto off?
So no, just because I have trust issues with accelerometers.
Okay, perfect.
Similar to Orwick on the LP1.
Fair enough.
Once we add our upcoming reticle options, we'll tie that accelerometer to the ring.
Okay, so speaking of reticle options, 2 MOA dot, or what
3.
is it? 3 MOA
right
dot.
now.
Okay, perfect.
6 is coming. We also have a 1 MOA dot with a 45 MOA that's on the way as well.
Perfect.
It's just super expensive to tool up for custom LEDs every time, so we have to take them out in stages.
Right. And I imagine you guys have done your in-house testing on the
Yeah, so in terms of our personal drop testing that we did for the first
or just not necessarily just drop testing, but also like high round count, maybe like full auto, different calibers and whatnot.
Certainly. So we actually have like a hydraulic jig that's made to simulate recoil.
Gotcha.
Right, and so we'd run that 15,000 times in multiple directions in different vectors. Right, we have a new drop test fixture that we use. We're actually redesigning the Pandora to the V2 when we go American made in the second half of 2024. So we have a nice linear bearing drop test jig that gives us different angles, consistent drops at every time to figure out and mate that with the finite element analysis to see where our failure points are.
Okay, that's cool.
And so
in more of a scientific way than just dropping.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do. And so from that perspective, it's neat. To have the capabilities of the engineering team, especially on hand at the lab, is super helpful because we're coming up with new solutions to age-old problems, and we're definitely in the business of looking at our competition and seeing what they're doing. So we have reverse engineered a lot of optics, both open and closed emitter, and we're trying to take what we find is the best out of all of those. Now the Pandora is a great first start. I think it's a wonderful optic. I think the V2 is going to be even better.
Okay, so talking about the V1, is that available now?
Yeah, of course.
Price?
Yeah, pricing on the website is about $400.
Okay.
Our current promo on the FDE is about $330, right? And what we're trying to do is push a little bit of our distribution so we can bring down the street price a little bit through other vendors, so we get a little more competitive in the mid to low 300s range.
Okay, very cool. Now V2, price and availability.
Same thing. We're already paying American labor for our assembly. We're just upcharging a little bit on the molded components because they're domestic, and then of course LEDs and glass. So it'll be $400.
Okay, and availability?
End of Q3.
Okay, so you think this year though?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, it's not much that we're doing, just different housing changes.
Okay.
We're swapping out our objective lens, custom up for a different one that's, we have just a teeny amount of fishbowl at the edges right now. I want to get rid of it all.
All right.
It's still giving me a pack of parallax 3-point, so we'll be swapping that out.
Now, one last question about mounts. Are you guys coming out with your own mounts, or are you guys just going to the aftermarket?
I'll show you a photo.
What about your own pistol interfaces? Or are you going solely aftermarket on those?
So the pistol interfaces, we're going aftermarket because we love the guys that do
I mean, there's a million of them out already for the Acro.
Yeah,
so it's popular enough that everybody has them.
Roger from Forward Controls and Scott from Apex and the like, those guys make excellent mounts, and from my perspective, it's humbling that they're willing to do business with us. Right, so I'd like to maintain that.
Awesome.